Very good evening, friends. Meeting again in the session of philosophy, and we have started discussing about the new chapter, that is chapter number 16 from the H.A. Robert, the second prescription. And he has rightly said that the second prescription is nothing but the prescription which, after the first prescription has been acted. So there must be some reaction on the part of the patient when first remedy is given. And once that remedy has acted, it indicates there is now you have to think about the second prescription and how to go ahead and what are the different ways or different types of first prescription, second prescription that he has tried to explain over there. The first important part which he has mentioned about it is the repetition of the same remedy. But it is not only the repetition of the same remedy, repetition of the same remedy in different potencies. That's what he tried to explain over there. And that is what is called as the first variety of second prescription. Second variety of second prescription is
Sir,
related
your
with...
voice is not clear, sir.
Hello, hello. Are you getting me?
Yes,
Okay,
sir, we are getting.
Yes, now
We
it
are,
is.
just a minute.
we are getting, sir.
Hello. Is it okay now?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. The second type of second prescription is nothing but giving a antidote to the patient. And antidote is necessary whenever there is either a medicinal aggravation, either patient aggravation is so severe that is what is called as killer's aggravation, or if the symptoms takes wrong direction, that is the cure is not happening according to the Hering's law of direction of cure and going from less important organ to the more important organ, then the question of antidotal prescription, second prescription comes. The third important thing which comes over there is the giving a complementary remedy to the patient. So these are three important types of second prescriptions which he has explained, and he was explaining one by one. Out of which, first one which we have discussed, when to repeat the remedy and in different potencies, that we have discussed in length. Then he started discussing about when to give antidotal treatment. And before explaining antidotal treatment, he has explained one simple example over there that already we have read in yesterday's lecture, the concluding part of yesterday's lecture. Let us read right from that so that it will be a revision and then we'll go to the next point. So page number 146, last paragraph, that is the first thing when to antidote. If these are old symptoms, we not only choose our first prescription correctly, but it has eliminated newest symptoms and uncovered the older layer and in the proper order of cure. But, and hereafter he says when to give antidote. But if we can get no history of the patient having had these symptoms before, and if they are not in the pathogenesis of the remedy, we have made a mistake in first prescription and it has changed the direction of the disease. Here, if it is possible, we must antidote the remedy. So if the symptoms are taking wrong direction, then it is the time to antidote it immediately. If it is going from less important organ to more important organ, yes, definitely it is the time to change the prescription. So this is very important thing which he tried to explain over there. And then he further says, madam. Then he further says, after having given the antidotal remedy and little time for patient to rest, we should study the case again from the beginning. And the second remedy should correspond more particularly to new symptoms than the old. But both the present symptom and former symptoms must be considered. If we do our work carefully, this second prescription will cause the new symptoms to disappear and it will probably remove the older symptoms as well. So what he is explaining is, he is explaining how to approach if you want to antidote, how to go ahead. And what he says, after having given the antidotal remedy and little time for the patient to rest, we should study the case again from the beginning. So he says that there is necessary to restudy the case. Just a minute. दार बंद कर, आवाज येतो सगळं. We should study the case again from the beginning, and second's remedy should correspond more particularly to the new symptoms than to the old. But both the present symptoms and the former symptoms must be considered. If we do our work carefully, this second prescription will cause the new symptoms to disappear, and it will probably remove the old symptoms as well. So here he explains over there the two things. If after giving antidotal remedy, if the older symptoms are coming back again, then take those symptoms. And if there are few new remaining, both of them you take into consideration and find it out a minimum for the patient and prescribe that prescription. That will be an approach how to go ahead in such types of cases. This is very essential, very important to how to approach with antidote. Many times it has been considered wrongly that you give a remedy and that antidotes, that's all. No. After giving antidote, what to do and how to approach, that's what he is explaining over there. And then he says, we may have to repeat the process several times before we can really overcome the difficulty. But each time that it is done makes the next step more difficult, and we must proceed with increasing caution after having made the mistake. See what he is explaining. If you are not getting right remedy at that level, you have to go doing it again and again, this procedure, and then you get a right remedy to cure the patient. But every time you should be cautious enough to look after the things. You should be very cautious what is happening with the case. It is not like that. Just prescribe and overlook the patient. You should be very, very cautious in the follow-ups. Follow-ups are very essential, and detailed follow-ups are very essential in such types of cases. So he warns us regarding it. And then he says, after the first prescription has been made, sometimes the patient will come to standstill. The symptoms have changed in an orderly way. New symptoms have come up. But finally, the symptoms have all retired in the reverse order to the former state and are hardly of sufficient importance to be considered. The patient will acknowledge that the troublesome symptoms have disappeared and that he has little in the way of symptoms to report. But he does not feel well. There is no general sense of well-being, yet he can scarcely tell you why and where he does not feel well. In such states, we should wait until we are quite sure that the remedy has ceased to act. There are remedies that have do-nothing stage in their unfolding, and we must be sure before repeating the remedy that the first prescription has entirely run out its cycle. If we have found a do-nothing stage, it may be but a part of the remedy cycle. If so, the remedy is still acting, and to repeat the remedy at this time could do no good and might do harm. In other words, this do-nothing stage is an expression of the pathogenesis of the remedy as manifesting itself in a curative process. And by little more patient, waiting the patient will be ready for next prescription. In these do-nothing states, no other remedy can fill in because there are no strong indications for another remedy, and the symptomatology has not altered to any marked degree except by lessening in the intensity. And since there has been little change, no marked new symptoms have arisen, we have no guides for another remedy. So there are certain times it happens that the symptoms vanishes under the action of first remedy. The troublesome symptoms disappear, but few symptoms which are not troublesome remains over there. And those symptoms which remains persistent but which are not harmful to the patient and which are of trivial importance, if they persist, then it is a time to wait. Because it is a state which never shows any specific indication for another remedy. And it is uh, the original symptoms have disappeared, then it is a time that you should not repeat the same remedy again. So sometimes waiting for some time is the better solution for it instead of going for next prescription or another remedy or repetition of the same. Then what to do? Then we must consider when to change the remedy for the second prescription. Besides the condition we have already spoken of, where new symptoms have appeared and there is an entire change, if the marked symptoms have disappeared and new group of symptoms have appeared with no relation to the former history of the patient, a new remedy must be considered. So if there are completely new symptoms, that means if there is a medicinal aggravation after giving the first remedy, then it is the time to repeat the to go for another remedy which will be more proper to cover that condition. And that is what is he explained. The new remedy which must be covering the old symptoms as well as newly aroused symptoms, and that is the remedy one should give. So for example, if patient comes for certain totality, there are 10 symptoms, you would have given remedy which covered 6 symptoms, 4 are remaining, and there are 3 new more have added called as accessory symptoms. Then you have to take the totality, the old remaining symptoms plus accessory symptoms. So you will get 7 symptoms totality and find it out a new remedy. That's what he wants to tell. Then he gives one more example. Suppose in a chronic case that these constitutional symptoms have been correctly met and have gone through a range of potencies from lowest up to the highest, and that they have all acted curatively, and the case has become or come to a standstill. After repeating the remedy, we get no reaction. This constitutional remedy should be allowed to continue its curative action so long as it can be maintained. And even if symptoms have changed somewhat, do not change the remedy as long as the patient shows improvement. But on the other hand, if the patient is not improving, there has been a change in the symptom, we can safely retake the case and consider the another remedy. We must make sure, however, that these symptoms are different from those of the patient felt earlier or have not been covered up by later development. For patient tends to become accustomed to the certain symptoms and almost forget that he has had them. If asked about them, he often replies that they are nothing. He has always had them. But these may be an important part of symptomatology, and we may elicit the fact that these are just a return of old symptoms that have been previously noticed or reported. Oh, on the other hand, it may be that we have really had all the action we can expect from the remedy that has been administered, and it is time to consider another remedy since the first one has carried the patient as far as possible. A safe rule for procedure is when in doubt, wait. In other words, never leave a constitutional remedy that has proven the simillimum for the considerable period until you have extracted from it all the benefits that the remedy can contribute. Then and only then are you justified in changing the remedy. So what he is saying, when to change the remedy. But at the same time, he wants you should not change the remedy off and on if you would have chosen a very perfect simillimum. If it is a constitutional remedy, one should not go on changing the remedy. If the first remedy is acting curatively and you have going ahead from potencies in different scales, or if different potencies in the one patient from 30 to cm at different times, and whole potency range you would have used, and then there is a condition which remains status quo. Now, whatever the benefits from that remedy have already been taken out, and at certain state, the case becomes standstill. Then it is the time to consider another remedy. Then it is the time to check for the new remedy. Many times, in such types of cases, you might require a remedy which complements the action of previous remedy. So, if patient was there having a chronic rheumatism, comes to you with a very typical rheumatic complaints, his small joints bilaterally symmetrical gets affected when he got wet in the rains, and all of a sudden joints are swollen and there it is too painful, and he feels better whenever he is moving, but as soon as he goes on bed it gets aggravated more at night, and there is triangular at tip tongue, and your remedy is Rustox. You would have given Rustox 1 m, 10 m to the patient. The patient is feeling better. His pains have settled, but he is not feeling completely well. And the disease is there since last 10 years. And now Rustox has cured part of it, the acute state of it. Then what to do? In such types of cases, what remaining part you have to complement it to the Rustox with the help of a calcarea carb. And that will cover the whole story. So this is the third part of second prescription, that if some relic remains and which never covers under the acute remedy, then it is the time to and complement it with the chronic constitutional remedy, and patient can be cured with it. It is quite possible that in making second prescription, we may find the simillimum to be complementary to the first. This is particularly well illustrated in the sickness of child life. There are often repeated tendencies for colds. The patient seems to getting colds all while, and remedy like belladonna may seems to be indicated. Will cure the acute condition promptly. We may do these 2 or 3 times before we realize that these recurrences are an acute exacerbation of chronic condition, and while belladonna acts promptly and effectively, it is only because it is complementary remedy to the underlying chronic calcarea state. So, patient, he has given very good example, another example of calcarea and belladonna. Belladonna covers the acute state, but belladonna doesn't have a capacity to cure the chronic state. Patient is getting off and on cold, the child, and patient is getting result with the belladonna, but not getting completely cured. Then you have to complement it with calcarea, and cure will be forever. Same is true for pulsatilla and silicea, and he gives that example next. Pulsatilla may be may be as effective in acute manifestation, while the constitutional conditions calls for silica. It is with so many remedies. Then we find constitutional condition that require for complete cure a succession of remedies, one remedy following another to good advantage. This sentence many people forgets. What they feel, the chronic conditions are treated with single dose, or chronic conditions are treated with one remedy. These are very wrong concepts which are there in people's mind. Hahnemann himself have told the same thing, and even Robert have mentioned the same thing. That this sentence one must understand. Then we may find constitutional condition that require for complete cure a succession of remedies. So one remedy followed by another, one remedy following another to good advantage. This may be a process of zigzagging a case to a cure because of lack of knowledge of our remedies, or because the case does not unfold before us when we first consider it. So you have to go from one remedy to another, then third, then fourth, and then cure. This might happen many times, specifically when you are dealing with the one-sided diseases. There is another possible reason for the successful succession of remedies. The first prescription may remove all symptoms of the one miasmatic condition. And when suddenly a condition will arise that show basic condition of one more other miasm. One miasm may have been submerged under another, and after the first has been removed by the simillimum, the second shows, and the plan of attack must be changed to include as weapons another group of stigmatic remedy. We cannot expect to eradicate any stigma with single dose of any remedy, but we may so improve the manifestations that the underlying condition may show itself, perhaps later to return to the first miasm again. So there is again one more thing. If there are two miasms lurking in one patient, then dominating miasm, if you have prescribed one remedy, for example, you have prescribed for SORA, antisoric remedy, so SORA will be vanished, but there will be another state which will come out. And if you find it out new remedy, on the basis of that, patient might get cured. But if there are two miasms alternating with each other, then first condition might reappear. So there are many pros and cons which you have to find it out in patient. You have to understand, for that purpose, you have to understand patient's illnesses very clearly. If you understand them clearly, then it becomes rather simple how to approach with all those cases. And to conclude the chapter, what he says, in these chronic conditions, no prescription, either first or second, can be made without careful, thorough study of the case and the sequence of symptoms. It is only by working out the case with the repertory that we are able to see clearly the indicated constitutional remedy in the light of symptoms that have been cured or relieved. It is only then that we can administer another remedy intelligently and with confidence. So, this is very important thing which he has explained over there, that unless and until we understand what has happened with the first prescription, we cannot go for the second. This is too important. Otherwise, it is not possible. If we understand exactly what type of reaction which we have got over there, then it is possible to go for it. Otherwise, it is not impossible. And this he tried to explain. The first prescription, you make it properly, and then there is a way for the second prescription. Either it is repetition of the same, either it is antidotal, either it is a complementary. So we have finished one more chapter from the H.A. Robert, and now the we'll turn towards the chapter number 21, local applications. That is in tomorrow's lecture, tomorrow's session. Only two chapters from the third year which are remaining, the local application and deflected current. Only two chapters are remaining. So we'll continue with the next chapter in tomorrow's session. Today evening we'll meet with one more important remedy. I think, what is the remedy? Staphysagrria in today's session. So at 8:15 we'll meet with the staphysagrria.
Sir, one question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, Utpal here, sir.
Yes,
sir. If in fast prescription patient had improved and improving, continuously improving, then the complementary medicine is required or not, sir? And in miasmatic cases, should we give miasmatic prescription and with miasmatic prescription, sir?
I could not get your question properly. What you are
Sir,
saying?
sir, in case of fast prescription, patient is improving and continuously improving.
If the
No.
patient has improved with first prescription,
Yes, 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 sir.
then
In that case, sir, complementary medicine is required or not?
if the symptoms completely not getting cured, then there is a need of complementary. If the
Yes, sir.
patient's complaints are not totally vanished.
Yes, and another question, sir, with continuous improvement, is there any miasmatic and with prescription with miasmatic prescription, sir? Miasmatic.
If it is chronic disease, then definitely it is a remedy which is miasmatic, which requires.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes. There is one question from Mr. Satyanarayan. Can surgery also deflect the symptoms? Yes, definitely. If if there is a breast cancer and if you do the mastectomy of the patient, the symptoms gets changed and it goes somewhere inside, producing metastasis either in brain, either in spine, either in lungs, anywhere. So surgery definitely deflect the symptoms. Anything else?
So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. We'll meet at 8:15.